Everyone talking about drones, lots of people talking about drones, but there's several things happening that I would like to talk to the expert about. One of the experts, Ryan, and I'm going to let you pronounce your last name.
You bet. My name is Ryan Lauderette.
Lauderette. I got it right.
There
Good.
you go.
Okay. So there's several things I want to talk about, but I call you an expert, but give us a little bit about you're the drone guy. You have a Facebook page, but you're very involved. Give me a little bit about your background.
So yeah, my name is Ryan Lauderette, and I'm the Director of Regulatory Affairs for the Great Lakes Drone Company, one of the largest drone companies in all the Midwest, and definitely the largest in Michigan. We do drone light shows. You've probably seen the Detroit Lions drone light show. So that was our company, right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
I'm also one of the founders of the Michigan Coalition of Drone Operators, which is across the state of Michigan, drone operators coming together to ensure that we continue to have our rights to fly drones.
Okay. I'll do another show about, it's amazing. How do you get like hundreds of drones and you make it look like an animal, or it's amazing how you do that. That's a whole other story probably, but
Indeed.
it's a science behind that probably, right? I mean, that's amazing.
Computer programming, lots of it.
Yeah. And lots of drones, right?
Indeed.
Wow. Okay. I'll get to that another day because that is something that's just fascinating. First of all, you're dealing with a case, or there's a case in Michigan involving the University of Michigan, and I'll bring up their site right here. And I don't know if other universities or other places have these sort of rules. The University of Michigan has rules, and this is their website, Drones on Campus. And there's a lot of them here, rules about drones, and you can't have them in the air. And then there's exceptions to the ordinance here, a lot of different things. Are there many organizations or universities that have rules? I've never even thought of it before, but I didn't even know universities had rules. Do they all have stuff like this?
That's a great question. In Michigan, every single university out there, even the small college campuses, have created their own drone ordinances. Now, they've done so illegally, but they all have them. So if you go to Michigan State, Wayne State, Michigan, University of Michigan, Ferris State, they all have them.
Well, yeah, and universities aren't a government agent. They can't create their own laws.
Well, yes and no. So the University of Michigan, along with Michigan State University and Wayne State University, those were originally granted their autonomous authority by the Michigan Constitution, right? And so that's the argument in this particular case. My group, the Michigan Coalition of Drone Operators, is suing the University of Michigan to say you can't have this ordinance due to some state law and federal law. And the university is responding to say, we are entirely autonomous. We don't have to follow state law.
Wow.
Interesting argument, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of like Disney World in Florida, how they have their own little area in the state. And so is this a first of its kind that it's been challenged, at least when it comes to drones, I guess?
It's not really. So a few years back, we initially sued Genesee County, who actually detained one of our operators for flying in a park.
I remember that.
And we took them to court. We won.
Nice.
Ottawa County was the same thing. They were threatening to arrest and incarcerate our folks for flying in their parks. We took them to court and won, even winning on appeal in the Michigan Court of Appeals.
Wow.
So we have a statewide precedent.
Is that, sorry to interrupt, is that because every like county park sets their own rules, their own guidance? Is that what they
sort of, that's the case, right? So counties have been given the authority to make their own rules, or cities have been given their authority. So when you are in a city that has a sidewalk ordinance, you can't have a skateboard on the sidewalk. That's the city making that rule, and they've been given that autonomy to do so from the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Here, although, with the state, the state legislature back in 2016 passed a law, MCL 259-305, that expressly disallows political subdivisions and public corporations from creating or enforcing their own drone ordinances. So if you're a city, you're a county, you're a school, You cannot have your own drone ordinance. You cannot enforce your own drone ordinance. Everything has to float up to the state. And in part of that act, the state of Michigan was saying, if you operate according to FAA laws, you as a drone operator can, in fact, fly anywhere in the state of Michigan.
Okay. So with the University of Michigan case, where are we at in that? Are we near an ending or a decision, or what's the status of the legal, where are we at?
So one of the interesting things, this is a really interesting week for aviation. It's historic.
Yeah.
December 17th in 1903 was the first flight by Orville and Wilbur White in Kitty Hawk.
Yes.
Well, here in 2024, on December 17th, 121 years later, we went to court over this drone case with the University of Michigan. There was a hearing, it's a couple hours long. We got through everything. The judge has a couple more questions to be answered, and so additional briefs have been asked of both sides. We will then have those briefs reviewed in January, 1 month from Tuesday, and we should get a decision thereafter.
Okay, so that's that, and everyone's now talking about the New Jersey drones and so forth. What's your take? My first concern was that all of this hubbaloo and all the, everyone with every theory, it could hurt the people who really love flying drones and do it safely. What's your whole take on what's going on out there? Because people have asked you probably that, what do you think about this stuff?
Indeed. Yeah. So I'm of that same opinion that this is a bad thing for drone operators. We've already seen that out of New York or New Jersey area where drone operators have been harassed for flying their drone at night when it's completely legal to do so. We're seeing it endanger pilots, not just pilots of drones on the ground, but actual manned aircraft, where the amount of laser strikes, people pointing a laser up in the sky at manned aircraft that they think are drones, and potentially causing pilot blindness for a temporary second, right? That can be very dangerous. So this is a really confusing time out in New Jersey.
So, yeah, it sounds like we may all agree the government could have done a better job at the very beginning of the communication of what's going on.
See, and I think that's where I'm challenging this, right? That when I look at this, it is no different than what we saw in Colorado and Nebraska in 2019 and 2020.
Okay.
In December of 2019, we had those mysterious drone sightings out in Colorado, and it expanded to Nebraska by the middle of January, and suddenly it was all gone, right? And what was concluded at that point was that there were no drones. There were manned aircraft that people were seeing and believing that they were seeing drones. So drones have become the new UFO, so to speak, right? If you see something in the sky, it's got to be a drone. Well, not necessarily. I think what's happening in New Jersey is you're seeing, yes, there are some drones that are being operated. We operate drones every day across the nation, right? There's reasons to operate those, especially at night. And you do so legally. You have strobe lighting for anti-collision, obstacle avoidance as well. So there's things that are taking place with drones, but the vast majority of sightings, and I get postings of videos and still pictures out of New Jersey every single day, multiple times. Everything I'm looking at are all manned aircraft. It's just misidentified by a scared public. It's hysterical.
Well, you should be a spokesperson, for the government then, because they could have came out and said, "Hey, remember what happened back in 2019?" But then I guess they would. I don't know. It's tough being the communications person because someone's gonna hate you no matter what you say, I guess.
Well, and the FBI and FAA both had come out previously and said, "Look, we do not see any credible evidence of nefarious purpose or mysterious drones." True. The public just hasn't bought that, and I think there's been a number of conspiracy theories. I know one individual that I've had some dealings with. He came up with a theory that they're searching for missing nuclear waste. No. It's shot through with a ton of holes, but it's out there, and I think we as a public are unfortunately led to continue to believe this because it's hysteria. Hysteria just continues to run rampant.
Yeah, someone in Grand Blanc, Michigan sent me video of a drone, and I'm like, yeah, it's a drone. It's someone probably at night, they had their drone. There's nothing wrong with that. And they were like, should I call the police? I'm like, no, it's a drone operating safely over a park or something. I don't know. It's just interesting.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask, I would love to have a drone. I don't, but what are some of the things, especially with Christmas coming up? Are they kind of like people buying a pet? You should know what you're getting. Like some people just, oh, I want to buy a dog, but they don't realize the care and the, how you need to care for the dog. You can't just buy a drone and you got to kind of know what you're doing, right?
Well, yes and no. So the first thing I'll say is when people are considering to buy a drone for Christmas, it's usually for their child, right? And their budget is fairly limited. I will tell you this, if you're going to spend, let's say, under $100, you're probably going to get a drone that's going to crash the first time out, right?
Yep. My wife bought me one a couple years ago. It was like $120. I put it up, it crashed into a tree, and it was done.
Pretty
it didn't have no GPS, no anything, and I lost control because I was trying to get the controls and I didn't know what I was doing. But you're right, you probably get what you pay for.
Yep. Cheap drones aren't good and good drones aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, right, there are some drones, some starter drones out there that are great for kids. One I look at is it's called a Tello. It's by Rise Tello. It's going to run you $150. You got to keep it inside, right? It does have a camera to it. You can do some video or still pictures. The neat piece with it as well, you can code. You can literally get on a computer and code, and it's object-oriented coding. So your child in 3rd grade can figure out how to code a drone to fly, which is pretty neat in itself.
Wow.
Otherwise, I would step up, and I think I got one over my shoulder here. This is pretty small. This is a DJI Mini series. Lightweight, they're less than half a pound, or just about half a pound, 0.55 pounds. You're talking a couple $100, $300. You can take this outside. It'll fly in about 20-mile-an-hour wind.
Wow.
So it can handle quite a bit of wind. It's got a pretty decent camera to it as well. The camera is probably equal to that of your cell phone.
Are they do they have where it'll come back to you? You press a button and it'll come back, and because I'm terrified after the one I flew. I lost control. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But one like that you're showing right there is a little more stable, a little easier to control.
Yeah, this is all GPS enabled, so it knows where it's at in the sky, and so it gets to a point where it says, you know what, I don't have any battery left. I'm going to come and fly home and land, and it will come right back down to the exact place that you started from. So they're getting pretty smart. Some other drones, a little larger. You can see this got some multiple cameras on it. Right now, you get obstacle avoidance. So if I were to fly this directly at somebody, it'll stop. Right. And so there's some safety features involved. Now you're getting into a couple $1,000s. So yeah, I think the other thing to think of when you're buying a drone, you can't just unwrap it and go fly. There are rules to these things. You need to register the drone if it's over the weight of 2 sticks of butter, 0.55 pounds. You're going to need to take a trust exam with the FAA. It's free. It's easy. You cannot fail, but it gives you some basics of the understanding of airspace and why you have to be safe outside. And when you do that, you're going to hook up with what's called a CBO. It's a community-based organization. And the community-based organization has some safety guidelines that you're going to follow. Simple stuff like keep the drone within your line of sight. Stay under 400 feet. Don't fly over people, right? So there's some really common sense rules to flying, and you want to learn those before you run out with that brand new Christmas present.
I will send this part of the video out. I'll play it again, definitely on Christmas Day. I'll put this out there. Yeah, that makes sense. And also, I mean, it's common sense for me from being in the media, but you do not go near an airport with a drone.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, or at least if you're going to get permission, I mean, right,
yeah,
you can't.
there are airports that you can fly near or on, and there's when you're around larger airports like Lansing or Detroit or Flint, you need to get permission, and it's a very simple process. The trust exam is going to teach you that
Oh,
process.
okay. Okay.
But when you do that, the safety is again in mind. You're going to be not just looking for your drone in the sky, but scanning for manned aircraft. You do not want to cause a trouble with a midair collision.
Last question. What about, because I know there was a man in Florida arrested for shooting at a Walmart drone or something. What is the future? Are we actually going to see Walmart, Meyer companies delivering items via drone? Is that going to happen?
The long answer is probably yes, but the short-term answer is no.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the drone delivery marketplaces right now, they've been very small. Florida, Texas, all south, right? California.
Yeah.
And they've had very much trouble getting people to order things with the drones.
Oh.
So their market has shrunk. And as such, they've kind of shrunk the testing conditions, and so you don't see many of those operations now. Going 20 years from now, absolutely, I think what you're going to see is long hauls of drones taking medical supplies, important things that are needed in a very short period of time. But that highway's a ways down the road.
Yeah. I know with the TV stations, for example, when I worked in Pittsburgh, every station had a chopper and it would cost $800 an hour to fly. And now many of the stations, they've gotten rid of their choppers. And let's say there's a big apartment fire, whatever it may be, you know, they're licensed, they're trained, they work with the local law enforcement, but they'll put up a drone to get video, and it's as good as a news chopper in the air.
Absolutely. The speed, you can have anybody on the ground just whip that thing out and breaking news right at your fingertips.
Exactly. Okay, well, I'm glad I talked to you because I learned a lot, and I wish you luck with the University of Michigan case because, I mean, there's already, it sounds like there's already laws in place, there's already a structure in place. The FAA handles this, and universities, random places can't just start popping off their own ordinance when they. I can't do that to my house. I can't say, "Oh, you're not flying above here." That's not how it works.
Exactly. Imagine, hi, I'm Delta Airlines. Can I fly over your property? That just doesn't happen. And that's why we are having this conversation with the University of Michigan, because they can't make such regulations.
Yeah, because if they do it, then how far does it go? Do you have local, who knows, whatever, a mall, a big mall, like, oh, we don't want you near the mall or something, and then it's a whole issue. So I wish you luck in that. Keep me updated. I'll bring you back on to celebrate your success.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good Christmas. Merry Christmas. And I'll put your message out again on Christmas Day so the parents are waking up. We'll make sure that the kids do the proper vetting before they fly the drone.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave, for our conversation, and happy holidays.
Okay.